The referee for tonight's action, Dave Newell. He's with the orange armbands, if you're watching in color. Gordy Brosecker and Kevin Collins are the two linesmen as we get set for the game between the North Stars and the Bruins.
Of Boston, Steve Casper is centering the captain, Wayne Cashman, and Keith Crowder at right wing, with Al Bork and Brad McCrimmon on defense. Schmier with it. Center ice stop, and a fight right off. Casper pounding away, and that looks like Bobby Smith. Steve Casper giving away height and weight. Goes and tangles with Bobby Smith. And Casper's role this year, John, has been to take on these centers. Joe Gordon of the Patriot Ledger told me on the road trip in Calgary, he stymied Gretzky the whole game.
Well, Steve Casper has had a tremendous season for the Boston Bruins. Not only has he played extremely well, it's Crowder and Payne going at it now. The linesman trying to break them up. As this is early in the hockey game, 7 seconds into the hockey game. And we have Smith for the North Stars, Casper for the Bruins in the penalty box, and we'll see who else will go. Crowder and Payne being wrestled apart by the two linesmen. But Steve Casper has had some big jobs to handle so far this season, covering some very big center icemen, and he's done a magnificent job. And there is some thought that Bobby Smith is the key offensively to the North Stars, and Casper going at him.
Oh, now Brosecker and Payne has grabbed Brosecker. I'll be amazed if he doesn't get some additional penalties out of this, and for sure it will be 5 minutes. Collins had all he could do with Keith Crowder, as both players, Payne and Crowder, didn't land a punch on each other, but gave the linesman a tough going over. But Payne grabbed the linesman Brosecker, and let's see what comes of that.
This is Casper and Smith right there, a little bit of footwork and glove throwing, and there they go. Smith and Casper are turned out to a wrestling match, but here are the penalties.
15, Bobby Smith, 2 minutes high sticking, 5 minutes fighting.
Wow, Smith
Number
gets
26,
2
Steve
for high
Payne.
sticking, 5 fighting.
Double minor unsportsmanlike conduct. 5 minutes fighting and a double misconduct. Boston penalty number 11.
Well, Payne really got a tag
Steve
to him.
Casper, 2 minutes high sticking, 5 minutes fighting. Boston penalty number 18, Keith Crowder, 2 minutes unsportsmanlike conduct, 5 minutes fighting, and a 10-minute misconduct. Time of the penalties, 7 seconds.
Wheels it to Park. Park, check, moves in. His shot hit the post to the left of Balash. Good chance for Brad Park. And a penalty coming up here as O'Reilly goes jamming in the corner against Carlson. Carlson and O'Reilly. So it looks like a long night. First period. And down they go.
A crowded penalty box.
Boston penalty number 24, Terry O'Reilly, 2 minutes slashing, 5 minutes fighting.
All the way down to Vachon. Oh, he left it there for Youngins in a mix-up as Milbury jams into Youngins, and here they go. Youngins and Milbury. And both getting in their licks. And we're going to need a replacement for the linesman. Mike Gillis may go. With Hartsburg, Mike Gillis and Hartsburg. Craig Hartsburg and Mike Gillis. They'll be going out, and Hartsburg getting some effective licks in against Gillis as Milbury is off for battling Youngins.
And Ray Newell draws out the piece of paper and the pencil, but the pencil doesn't seem to want to work. He was trying to write some numbers down. And it goes without saying that he might have lost control of this game, at least at this moment. we will see what the penalties will be.
Carries all the way. Looking for McAdam. It rolls to Cashman, and Bork flattens McAdam, and Bork is going out for high sticking. And now, there they go, Bork and McAdam. And Bork comes right back at him, and they're toe-to-toe, Bork and McAdam. Al McAdam from Prince Edward Isle, a veteran of National Hockey League play, and Ray Bork. And the linesmen adopting different strategy this time. They're going to let them fight. And McCrimmon is in the corner with Greg Smith. And that may break out. But the extra penalty going here will be to Bork for high sticking. Well, I tell you, Brossiker and Collins, the two linesmen, I think they're tired. They're going to let these fellows fight from here on. And when they finally get tired, and there goes McCrimmon and Greg Smith. And a left by McCrimmon. And back comes Greg Smith with some effective rights. And they're really exploding now. Newell looking on. Some heavy hitting there. John, we had a long 17 days off, and one of them I saw some amateur fights down in North Dartmouth. And I think the program went about 3 hours, but I tell you, there's been more fighting here.
Well, I think that Dave Newell right now has got to start throwing players out of this hockey game. That's the only way he's going to settle, or any chance to settle this thing down, is to throw a couple of players out and warn them that any more fighting, he's going to throw them out.
McCrimmon and Roberts go at it, and Roberts pounds him down. So, thankfully, the linesman, Brossiker, steps in. Gordy Roberts and Brad McCrimmon. McCrimmon already was being bounced out for fighting Greg Smith. And the amazing thing is, what has prompted this antagonism? There was an occasion a couple of years ago, Don Cherry, the coach, and John Wensink here. You'll recall it when Wensink challenged the Minnesota bench and got no takers. I think maybe that still rankles, and now they're showing that they're going to stand up and fight. I don't know.
Hard to understand what really prompted. At 7 seconds of the first period, Bobby Smith and Steve Casper, 2 minutes for high sticking and 5 minutes for fighting each, and before the players could get to the penalty box and settle down, Crowder and Payne went at it, and we've had a succession of battles between players, and we are yet to pass the midway point of the first period.
Out goes Greg Smith. Out goes Brad McCrimmon. Oh, a fight at the bench. Keith Crowder, Marco Barron, Greg Smith. The bench is empty. A wild scene at the Boston Garden bench as the Minnesota players come off. This was Greg Smith. As far as I could see, Keith Crowder and Marco Barron starting that. And the cameraman is right in the midst of it. And the punches are whirling all over the garden. And it is one of the wildest scenes we have ever seen at the Garden. It started, that cameraman is not going to make it, John, in the runway.
It is hard to understand what prompted this, number one, and how it came to carry on the way it has. But the game is bigger than what we're seeing right at this moment, as the players, and McCrimmon is still on the ice, and he is over there with McAdam. That could break out at any moment. McNabb is with Kristoff, and we have still got a lot of problems coming up.
Newell is telling both of them to break it up. But in the runway, as you can see, a jam of players. And it's going to be awfully hard for Newell to sort it out. But coming off the bench, there is course, it all happened right near the Bruins bench. The Minnesota team had to come off their bench and cross the ice. And how Newell will sort it out, we don't know, but hopefully he will.
I believe Crowder was in the penalty box. He was the player who was serving the 2-minute bench minor penalty for the Bruins. He took a swing at Roberts, I believe. And we still have McCrimmon and McAdam as the linesmen trying to muscle their way through.
And since all the players have come on the ice, they're on the ice. They're staying there and milling around. And there have been articles this year of a lack of fighting and brawling and milling about and pulling jerseys, and there has been. And yet we see this scene tonight. John, it's...
Well, if you stack these end to end, they're going to make up for all the lack of whatever all season long, because this has been something else again.
The only men at peace, Meloche and Rogie Vachon. And 11:02 left in the first period. There's Beaupre, the backup goaltender.
Paul Schmier, the captain of the North Stars, explaining the situation to Glenn Sonmore, the coach, as he was explained to by the referee, Dave Newell. And he gave him a list of the paper, and now we're going to have a problem because Schmier is going over at the instruction of the coach to speak to the referee about certain things that are on the list or aren't on the list or whatever. And we will have a further delay as...
And Newell's not going to talk to him.
I got to tell you something. I don't blame him.
So that's it. And Schmier reluctantly comes back to the Minnesota bench to Glenn Sonmore.
And Jerry Cheevers is not too happy over it either, so I'm sure there are things on his list he doesn't agree with.
Right now, it's a 5-on-3 for Minnesota. Shortly. Bobby Smith over the line. No score in the game. Smith weaving. He's an excellent stick handler. And a situation like this tailor-made for him as he shifts Middleton, and then is broken up. And Middleton carries out with O'Connell. 2-on-1. O'Connell open. Off for O'Connell. Scores! Mike O'Connell, a short-handed goal from Rick Middleton. And the Bruins lead 1-0. Winding up Maxwell. 2:20 left on the penalties against Boston. Out comes Jackson. Lalonde, a heavy hit there on Maxwell. And Maxwell started to go for him. And let's see what this call is. Maxwell and Lalonde.
2 penalties coming up.
Foster looking for it. Gets the shot. And he is knocked into the corner and hurt. Foster hit into the boards as he fired that shot. It was Jackson, I believe, who tagged him. A big defenseman, Don Jackson, 6'3", 210 pounds. Let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. This is the Boston Bruins Television Network.
This is TV 38, WSBK-TV Boston.
Just at the moment that you take to shoot the puck, you look down and look at this. And he just caught him beautifully with the shoulder and crashed him into the boards. Jackson on Dwight Foster shook him up, but he'll be back.
By Marcotte, broken up by Lalonde. He may have a breakaway. Here comes Lalonde, trying to break in. Save Meloche, and he crashes into Meloche after Meloche made that block. Bobby Lalonde breaking away and firing, and Meloche made the stop.
Bobby Lalonde breaking away from number 17, Young, had a half a stride on him, tried to convert with a high drive, but got it away, but Meloche went down and blocked it, but took a heavy hit in the process, and there has been a lot of that so far in this hockey game. As we will add the penalties for you when we get them.
4'8", that's not his size. He's 5'5". Kristoff moves it out to center ice, and Lalonde is flattened on the play by Zanussi. Fires in. And Cashman and Maxwell ready to go. Brad Maxwell and Cashman. finally, Cashman gets the helmet off and throws from left. Oh, pounding away, Cashman, the old style, the left-hander, but now Maxwell gets the jersey. And finally, the linesmen move in. So Cashman did a good job once he got the helmet off Brad Maxwell. And they will be going out at exactly 9 minutes of the second period.
Brad Maxwell got a punch in before Cashman realized what was going on.
Lalonde trying to golf it out with a backhander, and Marcotte able to clear it out with a heavy hit. A rattling hit on Bobby Smith, knocking him down.
Middleton trying to go after the puck. Watch this right here. And you'll see Zanussi drop his clubs right there and start hammering away.
Schmier holding away from Casper. Gets it to Jackson. Schmier took a hit from Casper. To Marcotte over the line, right wing side. Back for Foster. Shot. Blocked in front. Deflected now to the corner. Casper fights. Schmier. Schmier and Casper. And Schmier, a veteran, takes a punch. And Casper doing a good job now, closes on Schmier, a veteran, good fighter. And Schmier undoubtedly wanted to get back for the rap on the boards that Casper gave him earlier. And they are going out. Steve Casper looking at his hand. That helmet might have, he threw a right there that might have caught the helmet of Schmier.
Well, that's Casper's second trip to the penalty box for possibly a 5-minute major. Here they are right here by the side of the net, and one holding the other stick, and they dropped them, and away they went. And they are gone.
2-on-2. Lalonde goes wide on Young, who's playing defense. Lalonde around behind the net. Hit on the corner. Foster spilled. And the penalty coming up as battling is Lalonde. Here goes Foster now. And White Foster trying to get the Minnesota player. It is Kristoff. Kristoff and Foster. Lalonde atop somebody. And finally, they are separated by the linesmen who have had a tough night. Young and Lalonde were the other two. Kristoff and Foster. Let's see what's called by Dave Newell as the chippiness. That's not quite the word. It's more than that. Continues. And with the score, Boston 3 and Minnesota 1. Let's pause for this message.
1:35 of the third period, and should it be any different than the first two? We've got some fisticuffs going on, and we got more players in the penalty boxes now than we have on the bench. And I don't ever remember anything quite like this game here tonight. The penalties, as we have announced all along, have been many in number. And some we have not been able to get you at 8:58 of the first period. Ray Bourque got a high sticking infraction, and then all hell broke loose.
Bounces. Middleton trying to break. Gets it. And is ruled offside. And here goes Lalonde and Kristoff. We've already broken the record. And both of those players are tired. And that's that. Lalonde and Kristoff. With 1:08 left. And Newell could be considerate and only give 2 minutes each because they're both through. As Bobby Lalonde goes off. And Steve Kristoff.
18:52 the time of the third period, and according to Nate Greenberg, there are other records, penalty records, set in this hockey game.
And that is the game. And the final score, Boston 5 and Minnesota 1. Bruins hockey will continue in just a moment.